Setting program motivation with 3 points. Refuge field, bodhicitta field, and the purpose of this practice. Come. Daughter, no. Allah will stay there. Daughter will stay here. Yes. Okay, daughter. And make sure that everyone has a cushion to sit on. It's cold. Okay, 3 points to keep in mind. 1, refuge field. Number 2, bodhicitta. Number 3, the purpose of this practice. So, while we're doing this, it's not just for the sake of the teaching. It's not just for the sake of the rituals related to the teachings. But this is all what we're doing here is meant for to apply in your own life on a daily basis. Whatever practice that you do, try to integrate these things. Like, okay, setting proper motivation, 3 points. Refuge field, bodhicitta, and the purpose of this practice. So if you do that, include these things, your practice is going to be extremely productive, very useful, meaningful, meaning that the purpose of this practice is not just to count the number of years that I practice. There should be growth happening within you, within me, within you. So this is spiritual growth happening, where one mark of which is that as you grow older, most of you, I can see that you are in your 20s, from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, as you grow older, your mind should become happier, more and more at peace. And instead, as you grow older, then instead of becoming happier, you miss your youth. Oh, when I was in the 20s, I used to I'd be like this, now I'm going to do that, I miss those things, which means that your mind has not been growing. So the indication of the growth is that by the time you reach age 40, 50, if somebody were to give you a choice, were to go back to your time when you were in 20s or now, you say, I'll not go back. What I'm now is way more meaningful. There's a growth there taking place over the span of the last 20, 30 years. So this is the whole purpose. And for example, like the monastics, they over time, your the feeling of conviction, confidence, and particularly not just forcing yourself to refrain from certain activities, but mentally there's a growth happening inside. And this growth is happening where the joy is happening, joy is increasing, the fearlessness is increasing. Then you see that, well, this is greatly because of being in the fence of the monasticism. And then for the non-monastics, you can still grow, you also can grow. It's not that, it doesn't mean that the non-monastics, you're not in fence, you also can create a fence. How? Always being good companions. Always be with good companions, never ever trying to be with people who are so infatuated with sensual, the material things, drinks, drugs, then the partying and so forth. Just stay away from these people and stay closer to us, the people who do good studies, practice, emphasizing on compassion, emphasizing on the wisdom, and emphasizing the growth. So if you do that, you are actually fencing yourself in a very nice way. This is the wise people's approach. Okay. So with this in mind, the first thing is a refuge field. Refuge field, again, there are two things: what to visualize and how to visualize. First, what to visualize is visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, particularly the beings who are your inspiration for pretending to practice of compassion, pretending to practice of your wisdom. Just think of those beings and how you visualize them, that they are so loving, caring, and embracing, the way in a manner the mother sees the child when the child is sick, so the mother's attention is fully on the child, just to give joy in the child's mind, give some respite in the child's mind. Mother smiles, although the mother is in pain, but the mother gives a smile to the child, looking at his or her face. The mother gives this, smile. So just visualize all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas giving this smile to you out of so much love and affection. So this reinforces your refuge. And the refuge, when the refuge is very strong, it has so many benefits taught, and one of which is that the journey of enlightenment, journey of your mind towards fearlessness and infinite happiness actually starts from that point. So without this, then the ground is missing for you to begin this journey, the most precious journey, the journey towards fearlessness and infinite happiness. Okay, let's take a few seconds to invoke this, what to visualize and how to visualize pertaining to the refuge field. Okay, next, the body of the field. Again, what to visualize and how to visualize. What to visualize. Your two grandparents, your children, all the family members, and all their medicinal beings living on the side, the human beings, animals, insects, hungry ghosts, hell beings, god and goddesses, spirits, everyone living on the side around you. And some of you may find very difficult with your parents. It doesn't matter. And I really empathize with those who did not really have the healthy childhood. Because the parents, they didn't know how to take care of the children. They themselves had a very difficult childhood, and because of which they don't know how to take care of the children. So this is say 1 out of 1,000. And if you do fall in this category, you don't have to worry. There are so many examples of good people. There are so many examples of compassion, which you have seen, which you've heard. And you can also feel that yourself eventually. And so this, you can take the example of these things. And later on then, as you grow so well, then you will be able to empathize with your parents for not being able to take care of you, for the reason that they themselves had very difficult childhood themselves. So you can empathize with them, and then you just feel like hugging, embracing them even more strongly than ever before. Okay, so just let us take the few seconds, particularly how to visualize them, that you are like the very loving, affectionate parents, and all the dear sentient beings, they are like your sick children who are very badly stricken with illness, and then you are there to give full love, affection, attention, and embrace. And the purpose of this practice, okay, this is very important, and I can see that there are many new faces here. the third part, the purpose of this practice. Don't just think that I'm just following a ritual here, and then you just sit nicely, right? So instead, that what I'm sharing with you, just try to see that, try to remember these points, to indicate it, point by point, try to remember these points, and then later on, over time, you'll be able to see that these are like the foundation for your spiritual growth, this knowledge. Without this knowledge, then things get so scattered, and then you are in the facade of Dharma practice, but then there's nothing really happening. And I've been reciting this retreat, doing this retreat, chanting, mantra recitation, and so forth, making prostrations, and so forth. But then after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, nothing is in my head. My mind is just the same, very crude, very gross. Same person who is short-tempered, same person who is very, say, the materialistic, and there's no growth. Okay, these can potentially happen if you don't have a proper blueprint. So, the purpose of this practice, which we're indicating here, this is to create a roadmap, to create a blueprint for your the spiritual journey, which eventually, after 5, 10, 20 years time, you should be able to see, okay, now this is the spirituality. So anybody very fancy with this kind of group, big group, but it's not really spiritual Dharma practice. And it's not really, followers, fans, So this is not, so now the spiritual Dharma practice, okay, this is according to the Nalanda great masters, what they have stipulated, what they have laid out as the ground, as the whole blueprint for the Dharma. Now I got it, I practice it, and it is helping me, and there's a sign of indication of my growth happening. And then the others who are in the pretext of, or in the facade of Dharma practice for all these many years, fan of this person, fan of that person, so forth, and eventually not even knowing what exactly is the Buddha, what exactly is Dharma, what exactly is Sangha. And then the same short-tempered person, same divisive person, you see that, then you see that, okay, I'm so lucky that I met with the Nalanda tradition. The real Nalanda tradition, the teaching, where earlier this person, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, this person, short-tempered, now the temper is under control. And earlier being materialistic, when something is missing with the material world, then I'm really, say, lagging behind. No, now it doesn't really matter. So I can see the joy increasing. Those days when I'm short-tempered, when I'm after the material pursuit, the joy was not there. Now I see the joy is increasing, and the calmness is built up, and people around, wherever I go, things don't really, they don't really create any kind of fear in me. I feel so comfortable going anywhere. Okay, so but these things should happen to us. Okay, it is not meant to downgrade. It is not meant to be contemptuous of other people who are following this fan, that a fan of this person, that person, so forth. It's about seeing them and feel sympathy, and seeing yourself growing, feel the joy, and then see how to help others rather than feel egoistic. Okay, so with this in mind, what is the purpose of this practice? Purpose of this practice begins with, the question, what do you want? And you may have different answers. And so let's say 60 people, 60 different answers. 1,000 people, 1,000 different answers. The next question, why do you want particularly this one? Why do you want particularly that? Then answers, that makes me happy. So to the second question, all the answers will boil down to the same. I want happiness, and I want to stay away from miseries. These are two things. So somebody goes into alcoholism, Somebody goes into drugs, somebody goes into business, somebody goes into corruption, or whatever, or somebody goes into, say, the business on the large scale, small scale, teaching job, and so forth. Why? So finally, it's for my livelihood, for my joy, for my happiness, so that I don't, my security. Security meaning to stay away from miseries. So if you're convinced with this, the next question is, what degree of security do you want? What degree of happiness do you want? This next question. 10%, 20%, 30%. Answer is, if possible, 100%. Okay. The next question, is it possible? So the answer that we're going to learn over the next 5 years, no, not 5 years, 5 days. Over the 5 days is that, yes, we have that potential. We have the potential. And this potential is known as the Buddha nature. Buddha nature, Buddha, doesn't mean that you should be Buddhist. Whether you're Buddhist or not, everybody has the seed of perfection, known as Buddha nature. Buddha is a Sanskrit word. It's a Sanskrit word. It simply means awakening, awakened state. It simply means awakened state. So, everyone, whether you're Buddhist or not, whether male, female, whether you are, say, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, young, old, it doesn't matter. Everyone has this seed of perfection, seed of awakening. So our job is, those people who are actually striving to make this happen, to awaken the seed, these are wise people. Those people working so hard but nothing to do with awakening the seed, they are unwise people. As simple as that. So, if somebody says you are unwise, would you be happy or unhappy? You'd be very unhappy. If you don't want this unhappiness, what should you do? You should become wise. How should you become wise? Try to learn how to put effort to awaken the seed of perfection within you. Then you become a wise person. And eventually these people will succeed in their life. These people will become happier, happier, happier. And these people can export happiness to others. Okay. So with this in the mind, what we said is that we have what you have in your mind is what you aspire to accomplish. There are two things, broadly speaking, everyone. And just see whether it holds true for the males or the non-males, or for the educated or uneducated, or for the Buddhists or non-Buddhists, whether for the Easterners or the Westerners. Just check that everybody wants to get away from miseries as much as possible, and everybody wants to have the happiness as much as possible. And this holds true across the board of sentient beings, board of the beings who have some aspiration, who have mind. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Good. Okay. If you agree, from this we come to deduce that there are two aspirations we have. One, to stay away from miseries, and one, to expand our circle of happiness. So these are the two things in a nutshell. So whatever you do, if you think of all this, somehow these two connected, with either to tone down my miseries and to increase my happiness. Somehow whatever you're doing is meant to be connected to one of these two things. If you agree, if you're convinced, then the answer is yes. Not only that we can tone down the miseries, we can make the miseries zero. Not only that we can expand the circle of happiness, we can actually make it infinite. So from this, what we learn is that there are two things. What we seek is total fearlessness and infinite happiness. So with this, we have now the goals have become very clear. If somebody were to tell you that, okay, you want to become a Buddhist or not, Or you want to become rich, poor, or you will become the say, Nobel laureate in physics, literature, economics, and so on. Or you want to become a Messi, football, very popular, right? So you say, or you want to get the infinite happiness and total fearlessness, right? This is one choice. And the other things, all the mundane, what we call as mundane successes. On the other hand, if I give you the choice, all these mundane successes are somehow meant to be connected with seeking one of these two things, fearlessness and infinite happiness, right? So the wise people will say, I don't care. So say whether I'm the richest person, poorest person, or whether I am the so-called most successful person, least successful person, as long as I have the fearlessness, I get the fearlessness and infinite happiness. This is what I'm seeking. If you go in this direction, you are a wise person. You are a wise person. Okay, so now we have found meaning that we have to, you, myself, we all have to continue with this journey. What I said thus far, in just a few minutes, whether they hold true. Okay, if they hold true, then the next step will become very meaningful for you. For example, here the painting, oil painting. Painting is amazing painting, and if I ask, why you're so fascinated with the painting, it's amazing, but then why you are so much into this, why? It gives me joy. You getting it? Joy is a part of happiness. Joy's happiness. And she wants to expand this happiness. You getting it? So each one of us, and here, Pierre is just amazing with calligraphy and again the painting. His hand? Yes. Amazing. And again, if I ask her, what for? Right? It gives me such a joy. It gives such a joy. So we say, whatever we are doing, somehow they're connected, meant to be connected. Meant to be connected, meaning that some people, they may go, they may think that Dharamsala, which is Dharamsala? Which direction? Here. And then they say some people, they meant to go to Dharamsala for audience with the soul, and then they go this direction. You're getting it? To the opposite direction? So, meant to meaning that, I'm going for the audience with the soulness, you go in this direction. Meant to for the audience with the soulness, you go in the opposite direction. You're getting it? Meant to has this connotation. So with this, we have found two goals. Okay. So coming to Thosamling, for the first time attending such a retreat, anybody attending the retreat for first time in your life? Attending such retreats, first time in your life, raise your hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so particularly those of you who attend, okay, first time attend, and then it makes sense. Yes, we are seeking fearlessness and infinite happiness. Right? So now the goals have become very clear. Right? Some school children, after graduating the high school, you ask them, now what do you do? Still not sure? Finish high school. All right. Now is the time to go to college. Which discipline, which subject you're going to choose? Not sure. Okay, so which means the goal is not clear. So not for us, not only the immediate 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, our ultimate goal is fixed. Ultimate goal is, you have found the ultimate goal. What are they? Fearlessness and infinite happiness. You getting it? Okay. Now, and who is that person who seeks these two goals? The boys or the non-boys? Girls or the non-girls? Huh? All. And what about the Buddhist or non-Buddhist? Huh? If you're Buddhist, you seek this. If you're non-Buddhist, okay, it doesn't matter. This is Buddhist thing. No, everybody, whether Buddhist or not Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Everybody seeks to stay away from miseries and to have maximum happiness. With COVID-19, right? COVID-19 is a misery. Buddha taught all what contaminant things are suffering. This is a Buddhist thing, COVID-19. So we have nothing to do with COVID-19. No, whether you're Buddhist, non-Buddhist, male, female, it doesn't matter. COVID-19 attacks everyone. Yes? And then his one has got the injection. And the Pope Francis also got the injection. It's not the Buddhist, this Buddhist or this no Christian. Everybody. You're getting it? So the point is that, and it's also, okay, so that part, whether this injection is genuine, not genuine, these are all separate discussions. My personal take is whether it is genuine, not genuine, just at this spot, at that very time, at the very critical stage, so many lives have been saved. Today we can freely go without this mask. It's because of that. But is it really genuine? I have no answer. Mainly that is about the pharmaceutical companies. So what they do, that is, but it protected. It protected us to a great extent. Otherwise, we never know. The variants can become worse. We never know. Okay. So at least we found the two goals. What are they? Fearlessness and the infinite happiness. Okay. So this is something which anybody can understand, whether you are believer, non-believer, male, female, Christian, Buddhist, Jains, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, or Jews, or Parsis, or non-believers. Everybody accepts that, yes, I agree with these two. Okay, so these two, in a technical sense, fearlessness is referred to as nirvana, in technical sense. Infinite happiness is referred to as Buddhahood in the technical sense. So when you go to interact with the people who are non-Buddhist, we are all seeking nirvana, Buddhahood, they will say, no, this is your Buddhist thing. I have nothing to do with nirvana, Buddhahood. You getting it? But if you say everybody is seeking fearlessness and infinite happiness, then everybody will understand it. They accept. They will agree with you. You getting it? So some people, when their friends, they ask them, okay, you're in Buddhism, tell me something about Buddhism. And they say, from Buddhist point of view, we are all seeking the nirvana and Buddhahood. And the moment say, from Buddhist point of view, the person says, I'm not Buddhist, I have nothing to do with this. You getting it? It's not about Buddhism. So therefore, when you share this knowledge with other people, don't say that from Buddhist point of view. Just say that we are all seeking fearlessness and infinite happiness. So all these concepts, sophisticated concepts in Buddhism, can be conveyed in secular language, in secular context, where you don't have to qualify with the particular denomination, Buddhist denomination. No need. The idea is not to make people Buddhist. It is to make the people happy. It is to make the people be free from suffering, and that the people have the expanse of happiness. This should be our goal, not to convert people to Buddhists. This is the point. Okay, for example, usually I share with people that just enjoy pizza, no need to become an Italian. Okay, so what we got is the two goals. Now we have found the two goals. And are these two goals achievable? This is the next question. So let's keep in mind that what we're learning is not a theology. Keep this in mind. What we're learning is not theology. Theology means somebody just unilaterally teaches something and you listen to it, it must be true. This is theology. But what we're learning is not theology. Say, when you learn something, and you must come up with questions. I said that now we have found the two goals. Goals means something that you should achieve. But the first question is, are these two things achievable? Can we achieve these two things? You getting it? We have to come up with these questions. Can we achieve these two goals? Answer is yes. What's the next question? How? You getting it? So we need to learn how to ask questions. Okay. So answer is yes. We can achieve these two goals. So, say that what is the difference between a handful of sand and a handful of sunflower seeds? Sunflower seeds you squeeze, what comes out? Oil comes out. So, handful of sand you squeeze, no oil comes out. What is the difference? Where lies the difference? Anyone? And those who attended retreat for the first time, raise hands. Where lies the difference? Hey, the girls over here. Where lies the difference? Quick. Manjari is expert, I know. Anyone else? Where lies the difference? Yes.
You can eat sunflower seeds.
No, what I'm saying is, sunflower, you squeeze, oil comes out. And this handful of sand, you squeeze, no oil comes out. Where lies the difference? Huh? Hey, raise hands. This is not a rocket science. It's a very simple, yes, yes.
From the object that you are holding on.
Say it again.
Object from you are holding on to.
Yes.
One has the potential to produce.
Okay. The sunflower seeds, they have the potential to make the oil come out. Whereas these handful of sand does not have that potential. How many agree with your name? Jimela. How many agree with Jimela's hands? One is potential, what does it have potential? Okay. Which means that if the promise that I made, or the promise the Buddha made, is that we all have these two goals, fearlessness, infinite happiness, and these two are achievable. So to say these two are achievable, say from the handful of sand, oil is achievable. No, there's no potential for oil there. Handful of sunflower seeds, oil is achievable or attainable. You can get oil out of this because it has a potential. You getting it? So which means that if the answer is that we also can attain these two things, the fearlessness and infinite happiness, there must be the potential inside us. If you don't have the potential, no matter how much effort that you put in, you cannot succeed. Nothing will come out. Your effort will go in vain. So there must be the potentials. So these potentials are there. These potentials are known as the Buddha nature. You getting it? Buddha nature. The potential that each one of us has is known as the Buddha nature, which will, when partially awakened, it becomes nirvana. When the fully awakened, it becomes Buddhahood. In fact, Buddhahood is the most refined version of nirvana. Nirvana is where your fears dissolve. Buddhahood is not only fear dissolves, your happiness expands infinitely. You getting it? So the point is that this seed within us, Buddha nature, that seed, say when partially awakened, it will make you free from suffering. It will make you fearless. And when fully awakened, it will make you not only fearless, you also experience infinite happiness. So this is known as the Buddha nature. And that exists within everyone. Whether you're Buddhist or non-Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Whether you're believer or non-believer, it doesn't matter. Everyone has this. But whether you're male or female, there's no difference. In fact, the Buddha, they say, in the history of the humanity, look at the Buddha, going back to the time of the Buddha Shakyamuni, we see that the male chauvinistic attitude was extremely at the height 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago. The male chauvinistic attitude, that the males are male dominant, the community was so prevalent there, and because of which there was this, the feeling that the males are always better. So I usually say that when in a community where there is, the attitude that males are better, this is a backward community. No doubt, this is a backward community where the attitude that the males are better than the females. If this is your attitude, you are a backward person, and the community, if it believes in this, the community is a backward community. 100%. So, see, all this over the ages, the males got more opportunity because of this male chauvinistic attitude. And now, say the females are also getting the opportunity, equal opportunity, and they also rise in. Everybody has the same potential. So, why the Buddha 2,500 years ago, at the time when he was born, it was such a chauvinistic era, male chauvinistic era. And at that time, anybody says that female, male, female, same, you're gone, you're dead. Because this is something unacceptable in those communities, in those days. Because the Buddha so courageously stood against the discrimination on the basis of the gender. The Buddha stood against that very strongly. And so with this, we have to say those people, male, females both, we have to know the reality. You have to go back in history, and today, if it is a situation such that anybody who speaks about, they say that Asians and non-Asians, we are same. And if you are Asian, you're gone. If this is the environment today, right? And then who dares to speak? Only the courageous people will dare to speak. You're getting it? And others will just remain quiet. Look at today, in the world. So where a particular country like CCP, Common Chinese, is economy becoming so strong, and even if he's doing something wrong, the whole world shows blind eye to what it is doing, cannot speak out for the truth. This is reality. So just take this situation at the time of the Buddha, where the male chauvinism was extremely strong. And the Buddha so courageously said that this is wrong. And we say, oh, Buddha is very special because he's already enlightened. No, this is our projection of the Buddha 2,500 years later. In those days, people around the Buddha, the moment they see that Buddha saying something against their belief, they are daring to fight against the Buddha. You getting it? And yet he stood very firm. What made this Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, become so courageous to speak against the gender discrimination? Because of his conviction in the Buddha nature present in all, male, female, no difference. This gave him such a courage to stand for the equality of gender equality. Okay, so now we see that there are the two goals here, and with the potential for fearlessness and a potential for the infinite happiness. These two combined together, known as the Buddha nature. And why? If there's a potential, why? I don't see this potential within me. Right? Which means that, say, if there's a gold and you don't see that, there must be a reason. What could be the reason? Anyone? If there's a gold and you don't see the gold there must be a reason there. It's obscured by something. It is obscured by the mud or clothes or something. You agree? So likewise, if we have the potential, why don't we see them? Right? Why don't we see that? So infinite happiness means happiness 24/7, yes? But is it 24/7 that you are happy? Friday evening, what is that like? Monday morning, what is that like? Monday morning, right? In Assam, where I was invited to give teachings, and my host, now he has grown to a big boy. He was a very little boy. And when I came, it so happened it was Friday, he was totally restless, jumping here, there, shouting, and so like the whole house was filled with his presence. And on Monday morning, the whole house was so quiet. Monday morning. Then I asked, the boy left for school? And my host said, no, he's here. No, it can't be. Yes, he's here. This is, on Monday. His presence. Monday is very different from Fridays. Which means that he is not 24/7 happy. You're getting it? So what about the infinite happiness? So we don't have this infinite happiness. How do you know that this potential? So these potentials are not seen because they are obscured. So given that there are two potentials, one for fearlessness, one for infinite happiness, there must be two obscurations. Obscuration which obscure you from experiencing fearlessness, and obscuration which obscure you from experiencing infinite happiness. So the first obscuration which obscures you from the fearlessness technically known as nirvana, and the infinite happiness technically known as Buddhahood. Okay. So the obscurations which obscure you from experiencing this total fearlessness or nirvana, that obscuration is technically known as afflictive obscurations. Afflictive obscurations. And the obscurations which obscure you from experiencing infinite happiness is not technically known as cognitive obscurations. Okay, we now two obscurations, two goals, two potentials, two obscurations. Okay. Okay, now to remove these obscurations, in a very general presentation, to remove these obscurations, we need two remedies. To remedy the obscurations, we need two remedies. Two goals, two potentials, two obscurations, and two remedies. Okay, remedy one, the fear. Fear is all grounded on ignorance, which we're going to learn. We have to learn this. Fear, all afflictions, fear, anxiety, stress, depression, and the anger, attachment, all these, the whole negative, the board of negative afflictions, negative emotions, they're grounded on ignorance. So what is counterforce ignorance? Okay, so this is very important. Many of you, I can see, many of the long-time the friends who are already exposed to these, but there are new faces as well, say that the ignorance, how to remedy ignorance. For this, we need to know a metaphor. Let's say that we are preparing for some very important examination, and you decided to say okay, tonight I'll be more quiet, I'll study the exam, prepare for examination, and so you're on the table. Night. Suddenly there's a power cut. Power cut happens quite frequently here. Good. Okay, so there's a power cut. Now you're done. Tomorrow is your exam, and you just trusted that, okay, whole night I can study. What do you say? Midnight, burning the midnight oil? Okay. And then there's a power cut. Then what do you do? Never mind. Okay, we have a new Buddha here, right? Okay, Buddha, please remove the darkness. Buddha, please remove the darkness. So, what's the problem with you? The problem with you is the darkness. There's no power. There's a power cut. It's the darkness. So you want to get rid of the darkness. So you request the Buddha to remove the darkness. Buddha, please remove the darkness. Right? You pray. And if the Buddha is sitting next to you, Buddha will be very upset. What a stupid follower. You're getting it? Why do you light a candle? Why do you light a candle? Light a candle, you don't have to say, Buddha, please remove the darkness. It's a waste of time. Instead of light a candle, if the Buddha is sitting next to you, he'll be very happy. Oh, this is a smart follower. You getting it? So, you have to light a candle. So just as, practically speaking, just as it is only through introducing the light that the darkness can be eradicated. Likewise, it is only through introducing the light of the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eradicated. Only through the light of the wisdom. So we see that we are talking about what? Anyone who can put me back on track? We're talking about what? Remedies. Okay, so we're talking about the two goals, the two potentials, two obscurations, and the two remedies. So what are the two remedies? You're getting it? Two. Okay, last two remedies. One is to get rid of fears, the fear created by the ignorance. We need to introduce the light of the wisdom. So one remedy is the wisdom. Then along with this wisdom, for the infinite happiness. For the infinite happiness that so the fear, to get rid of the fear, it is nirvana, attaining nirvana, done through wisdom. And the infinite happiness, which is Buddhahood, the wisdom is required. Wisdom is required because partial awakening and the full awakening. For the partial awakening we need wisdom to remove the fear, and for the full awakening we need additional factor. What is that additional factor? So the idea is to expand the circle of happiness to infinity. Infinite happiness. So in your life, I'm sure that you'll agree with me that if you are being very honest, today, I don't see anybody who is like age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Which means we are all like 20 plus. Is there anybody who is younger than 20? Raise hands. Anyone who's younger than 20? How old are you? 22. So which means there's nobody who's younger than 20. Tapala? 19? No? Okay. So there's nobody who's in 20, let's say below 20. Which means that, let's say that we all, whether we agree or not with what I'm sharing, say if I take you back in time, 20, 16, complicated age, where the friction starts with the parents. No, sir, some people start even earlier. 15, 14, 10, 9, 8. Then the beautiful moments, you could recall the beautiful moments. You could be reminiscent of your past beautiful moments with the parents. When you were so vulnerable. And the parents just selflessly give their love and affection towards you. So those are the times, the most memorable days. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Don't think of them when you are 16. Think of yourself when you were age 4, 5, 6, 7. Raise hands. That to be with the parents, this is the best, the most beautiful moments. Good. Okay. So why that happened to be the most beautiful moments of your life? Because both ways there is infinite flow of affection. You agree? Infinite flow of affection. Okay. So the secret of happiness lies in the compassion, love and affection. So if I'm seeking infinite happiness, if I can cultivate the infinite love and affection towards all the beings, to the infinite beings, then I'll have infinite happiness. So this infinite affection, technically known as the bodhicitta, so that's required. So we have one, the wisdom for the remedy, one, the wisdom to remove the fears of life, to remove the miseries, and wisdom added to the wisdom, the bodhicitta, the method. Bodhicitta and other practices are also referred to as method side, the bodhicitta, and so forth. So these, they become the second part. So wisdom and the method. So now what are the two goals that we are aspiring? Nirvana and Buddhahood. What are the two potentials? The Buddha nature. And what are the two obscurations? Afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. What are the two remedies? The method and the wisdom. You getting it? You got it? Good. So this is a basic blueprint. We need to remember these, that what's the purpose of what's the purpose of the practice? Refuge field, bodhicitta field, and the purpose of this practice. Purpose of practice, we need to remember these points. The two goals, the two potentials, and what? two obscurations and the two remedies. You getting it? So if you know this and we apply this, this is your Dharma practice. And anything to do with anything, what you call this Dharma practice, if they have nothing to do with these points, you are actually wasting your time in the name of Dharma practice. You getting it? Okay. So having said this, with this in mind, let us turn to page 3. Two potentials. Potential for nirvana and potential for Buddhahood.
It's the same as the two goals.
No, the two goals are fearlessness. Potential of the fearlessness is not fearlessness. Apple seed is not apple. Apple seed is potential for apple. Okay, so with this in mind, knowing that this is the whole roadmap, the blueprint of the Dhamma practice. So initially, why should I engage in Dharma? Because of these two goals. Do I have the potential to attain that? Yes, we have the two potentials. And why they are not seen? Because two obscurations. How to remove these two obscurations? The two remedies, the math and wisdom. Then it becomes so meaningful. So with this awareness, let us turn to page 3 and imagine that you are leading this practice and your two parents, all the family members and all their Mother Sunchen beings, they are with you, and of course many 99.9% of the people, animals, insects, all the sentient beings, they do not get the opportunity to encounter with these the Dhamma teachings. So just you visualize that you are the medium, you are the messenger, you are the angel to transmit this, let's say, the whole corpus of the teachings of Buddha to all the dear Mother Sentient beings. And imagine that all dear Mother Sentient beings, they are around us, and the Buddha's Bodhisattvas, they are watching us with so much love and affection. And you are, let's say, leading this practice. Page 3. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted to you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted Sangye Joda Zoge Chonamna Chanjo Bhambu Dame Kyapsu Che Dage Chinso Kebe Sona Ola Benje Sangye Drubara Sho Sangye Joda Zoge Chonam Chanjo Bhambu Dame Kyapsu Che Dage Chinso Kebe Sona Ola Benje Sangye Drubara Sho Sangye Joda Soge Chonam Chanjo Bhardu Dane Gyapsu Che Dage Chinso Kebe Sonam Tola Benjele Sangye Dhubara Sho. I go for refuge and tell my enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and tell my enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and turn enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. In dependent origination, there is no ceasing, no rising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness and no sameness. I prostrate to the concept of Buddha, the supreme of all teachers. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, who acknowledge all need hearers seeking pacification and complete peace, which through the knowledge of paths causes those having my grace to achieve the aims of the world, and through the possession of which shall subdue and expound a variety of teachings. The one was transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher is to guide and protect her to you and my situations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays to you, the Buddha and my situations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I gentleman full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, since we've already learned the meaning of this mantra, the essence of dependent origination mantra, we'll recite it, and meanwhile reflect on the meanings of these lines. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dattavato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashamanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dattavato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashamanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dattavato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashamanaye svaha. Meaning of the Tenzin Yumbu mantra: all phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation causes as well is taught by the great seer. Profound, peacefully, elaboration-free, clear-light and non-composite. Such a nectar-like Dharma I've discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching in silence and determined words. Pure utterance, thought and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unknown, unsees and has the nature of space. Is all through the apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the three times of obeisance. The four seals of the Buddha's teachings, all composite things are impermanent, all contaminated things are the nature of suffering, all phenomena of the nature of emptiness and selflessness, transcending soul is peace. The Gurus of Buddha, the Gurus of Dhamma, likewise the Gurus of Sangha, the Gurus that source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, to liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expansive billions of aeons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove the miseries held by his hands. His spiritual eyes that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of four directions to shine light of Dharma throughout the little misery's gloom. Instructions on parting from the four attachments. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not interfere. Okay, we will read the Heart Sutra, full Heart Sutra, page 29. Page 29. Okay, given that this course is on the wisdom of emptiness and Heart Sutra, this is the source, the major source, which, along with other sources, this is one which teaches on the wisdom of emptiness. And as we recite this, we need to remember 3 points. The first one is, what is the question asked by Shariputra to Aravalokiteshvara? And of course, the background is that on the Vulture's Peak in Rajgir. So in fact, that's very interesting. On Vulture's Peak, there's a place where the Buddha gave many teachings. You read many other sutras, you see that many of them were actually taught on the Vulture's Peak. So when you go there, we need to remember that, okay, this is the place where the Buddha actually taught the Heart Sutra and many other teachings. I'm sure many of you have been there. Raise your hands, those who have been there. Rajgir. Okay, those who have never been there, raise your hands. Okay, so those who have never been there, let us keep in mind that this is a very important place to visit. And then, so usually for Tibet, not Tibet House, the Root Institute, almost like every year we have the retreat there. When she was the director there, I think I was there for 4 years when you were there, and even before that. Okay, so then after that, so the point is that we used to go there to Rajgir, to Nalanda. Then we take the aspiration Bodhisattva vow together there, and these are very beautiful moments, very meaningful moments of life. Okay, so those who have never been there, just think of planning something in the near future to go there. Okay. So the Buddhist Shakyamuni presided over the gathering, and then on the two sides, one Aravadukateshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, and the other Shariputra Arhat. And usually, I'm sure you have noticed that, oftentimes with the painting of the Buddha, you see that depiction of two monks on the two sides of the Buddha. You notice that? And the one on the right of the Buddha is Shariputra, and one on the left is Moggallana. And why are these two monks so important that they are depicted next to the Buddha? We need to know this. First, Shariputra, why he is depicted there as one of the two important monks there, they are on two sides of the Buddha. For Shariputra, it is said that amongst all the disciples of the Buddha, the one with the greatest intelligence, is Shariputra. And then the one on the left, Moggallana, why he is considered very important is for the reason that of all the disciples of the Buddha, particularly those who seek personal liberation, not the Bodhisattvas, those who seek personal liberations, from them, the Moggallana is the one with the greatest miracle power. Moggallana is the one with the greatest miracle power. So these two monks are being depicted as something very special on two sides of the Buddha. So on the vulture's page, Buddha Shakyamuni is presiding over the congregation, and then he is surrounded by the monks, nuns, and the bodhisattvas, lay devotees. They were all there, and on the one side was Bodhisattva of compassion, Aravadukateshvara, and on the other side was Shariputra. And then Buddha went into samadhi. Samadhi meaning meditative concentration. Buddha went into this meditative concentration, and when you become fully enlightened, when you become a Buddha yourself, what happens is that you get access to all the phenomena, you get direct access to all phenomena simultaneously. Which means that you can simultaneously see the ultimate truth and the conventional truth simultaneously. And some of you may be meaning what is conventional truth, what is ultimate truth. Okay, so don't worry, this is what we have to learn over the next 5 days. In other words, when you become a Buddha, anybody is a Buddha, is able to have direct access to all phenomena simultaneously. In other words, can know all phenomena simultaneously. So although the Buddha is immersed in meditative concentration, into emptiness, ultimate reality, he could see the world, every atom of the universe as they are. So with this access, the Buddha won in meditation, the Buddha blessed and inspired Shariputra to stand up to ask question to Aravadukateshvara as to, to ask question number 1. Then the next question, what is that question? What is that question which Shariputra asked? So the question is, how should a child of the lineage practice the perfection of wisdom? So oftentimes, translators, how should the son of the lineage practice the perfection of wisdom? So this is not a good translation. It should be child. It should not be confined to the males. It incorporates both males and females. For the reason that the Tibetan word is pu. Pu. And pu does not necessarily mean males. Pu means a child. It has two connotations. One is child, and the other one is a male, the son. So it refers to both, and there's no reason why we should translate only to the son, not as a child. So this is not a good translation. If somebody translates it as how should the son of the lineage practice? One of the daughters. Okay. And because why I'm saying this is that the second part, the response Aravalokteshvara gave, so there it becomes very clear that the sons and the daughters both are presented. Because if the question is asked sons and the answer is given daughters, it's totally irrelevant. So therefore the question is a child in general, and the Aravalokteshvara is being very specific that the boys and male, the non-boys both, females, non-females both. Okay. So this question, how should the child of the lineage practice the perfection of wisdom? What is meant by child of the lineage? This is very important. And some of us, okay, let's say that 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, even today, you see that there are many places around the world where still the lineage of kings exist. Yes? Lineage of kings, queens. Now the coronation is about to happen. King Charles, coronation, king. So likewise, and 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, a small boy is considered so important, although he did not know anything, but it's considered so important. And all the wise ministers, the ministers they are so experienced, learned, wise, even they have to respect this small boy who did not know anything. Why this boy is considered very important? Because he's holding the lineage of the kings. What do you mean by that? That he's going to become the king later on. So therefore he's become very important. And which lineage is more important? Lineage of the king or lineage of Buddhas? Which is more important? Of course the lineage of the Buddha is more important. So, and who is holding the lineage of Buddha? Everyone can hold the lineage of Buddha. Not only somebody born in that particular family. Each one of us, as long as we make a commitment that may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. When you feel that, then you automatically you come as in the lineage of the Buddhas to become Buddha. What do you mean by the lineage of the Buddha means to become Buddha. So this is what all of us can become. So lineage holder, a child of the lineage, practice the perfection of wisdom. So as a child of the lineage, meaning that somebody who made a commitment, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Next question is, how are you going to become a Buddha? By removing the mental dirt. See the perfection within us. See the perfection. See the Buddha nature within us. We have to remove the mental defilements. How do we remove the mental defilements? By resorting to the wisdom. So, wisdom of perfection. So the question is, how should the child of the lineage practice the perfection of wisdom? You getting it? Okay. So this is the first part. Second part. What is the response given by Aravalokteshvara to Shariputra? So the response given is that the perfection of wisdom is to see the reality. What is wisdom? Wisdom is a discerning mind. First to say how to apply this wisdom, how to practice wisdom, we have to know what the wisdom is. Wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. Let me repeat it. What is wisdom? Wisdom is a discerning mind whose apprehension of the object tallies with the reality. What's the next question? What's the reality? Okay, what's the reality? So, Aravalokteshvara, responding to Shariputra's question, Aravalokteshvara explained what constitutes the reality. what constitutes reality. So, the reality is that what we see is totally our own fabrication. What we see is totally our own projection, our own hallucination. What we see is our own hallucination. Some of you may be saying that, are you hallucination? I'm seeing you. Right? Some of you may think like this. Okay, so these questions, don't suppress them. These questions are so important. What I tell you, I told you that, I say what's reality? Reality is that what we are seeing is not reality. Reality is the opposite of what we are seeing. What are we seeing? What we are seeing is all the hallucination created by our own mind. But when we perceive things, we don't see them as our hallucinations. We see them as our objective reality. Hallucination means purely our mental construct, subjective construct. But when we look at things, we don't see them as subjective construct, we see them as so objectively real. This is hallucination. So what's the reality? Opposite of this, that nothing is objectively there, is all coming from our mind, like a dream. In other words, that everything is like a dream. Everything is like a dream. This is the reality. So Aravanteshvara, he responded to this question by explaining how everything is like a dream. There's nothing objectively real. Okay. Then the question number 3. Point number 3. If you realize this, that everything is like my own hallucination, or the projection of my own mind. Okay, these words when you learn, projection of my own mind, imputation of my own mind, destination of my own mind, destination, projection, imputation of my own mind, fabrication of my own mind. So, the best choices of the words are the destination, imputation, and the projection. These are the best. And fabrication. This word will come every now and then, but these 3 things are so precise. Projection, this is all projection of my own mind, like just a dream. The contents of dream, they're all the projection of my own mind, my mental creation, mental imputation, mental designation. They all means the same. They're all synonymous. Okay. So once you know that, what's the benefit? This is point number 3. The benefit is that, I say, how many of you had a nightmare? How many of you very scary dreams in your life? Presents? How many of you had scary dreams in your life? Presents? How many of you have no idea what is dream? Presents? Okay, so which means we all have some degree of experience of scary dreams. Sometimes when you have the scary dreams, it's just one after other, back to back. Yes? You have the scary dream, you wake up, you go to the loo, to distract yourself, come back again, dream continues. Raise hands? Yes. Okay. Let's say that when that happens, so how you were scared in that dream? Presents? Means you're like, why are you scared? It's not real. Why are you scared?
We don't know.
It's not real, but we didn't know. We see them, we saw them as real. How many agree? What's your name?
Olga.
How many of you agree with Olga? Raise your hands. They're not real. But when we see them as real in the dream, you're getting it? And you like it or you don't like it? You don't like it. If you don't like it, what should you do? Wake up. How many agree with Petrona's hands? If you don't like it, wake up. Good. Okay. In what way it helps when you wake up? Raise hands. Here.
You realize it's not real.
You realize that it's not real. It's coming from, what do you mean by not real? It's coming from my mind. It was not really there. How, your name? Evelyn. How many agree with Evelyn? Raise hands. Good. So in other words, when you wake up, it helps. But realizing that it is not objectively real, it's all my dream, it's all projection of my mind. When you come to know that things are projection of your mind, the fears in the dream dissolves. You agree? Likewise, not only the dream, even outside the dream, what is happening, whatever is happening inside dream, outside dream, both are coming from your mind. If you come to realize this, all your fears of dream, non-dream, everything will dissolve. Yes? Good? So there's a benefit, that all the fears of life will dissolve. And if you can practice it consistently, then your degree of the confidence will gradually build up. And the fears will gradually subside. Depression, anxiety, the ground for depression, anxiety will all be, all will be gradually shattered. And they'll all go away, and you will be very confident and fearlessness. But don't imagine that it will happen overnight. You getting it? Okay. So, on the end, Aravind responded that this wisdom, to know that everything is subjectively imputed, nothing objectively exists, that wisdom is the only gateway through which all the enlightened beings of the past, the present, and the future, all the Buddhas of the past, present, future, they traverse. They pass through this gate. This is the only gate to get to the Buddhahood or to your fearlessness and infinite happiness. This is the only gateway. There's no other gateway. So if you want to experience fearlessness and infinite happiness, this is the only gateway. We have to see the emptiness. Okay, so with this in mind, let's recite the Heart Sutra, page 29. Remembering these three, keep in mind these 3 points. Heart Sutra, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Buddha was dwelling on the Mars about no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and no aging and death, and no extinction and aging and death.
I think they're just saying whenever you feel like it, because they haven't printed the schedule yet.
And thus without fear, having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint in nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the perfect truth and also manifest the complete awakened, unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in the realms of professional wisdom. Therefore, the mother of the professional wisdom, the mother of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mother that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the professional wisdom is declared, Yata Om Vade Vade Para Samvade Bodhi Swaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound professional wisdom like that. Then the Buddha arose from their concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Aravaduteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you've indicated. Venerable Shri Bodhiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasatva, Aravaduteshvara, along with the word of gods, humans, asuras and gandharvas, were overjoyed in heavy praise that spoken with the Buddha. Okay, we'll recite this mantra 3 times together. By the teachings of the three supreme jewels possess power of truth. Many in the outer world will be transformed, may they be dispelled, may they be pacified, may all the forces of hosts of the may the hosts of 80,000 souls be pacified, may we be separated from problems and conditions harmful to the Dharma, may all enjoyments be recorded with the Dharma, may all spaciousness and perfect happiness pervade this place now.